Hi everyone, Tony Twist here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of having ever felt like this. And today, we're going to be doing a review of the new Toehider album. I have little to no memory of these memories. Okay, so let's be real here. Australia has made some really great things in its time. We've got TV shows like Round the Twist, Bluey, Neighbours. Rest in peace, Neighbours. Heartbreaking. We've got great food products like Tim Tams and Golden Gay Times, and fantastic bands and musicians like AC/DC, Men at Work, and Natalie Imbruglia. Oh yeah, and that one Minogue woman, whatever her name is. Danny Minogue, yeah, she's pretty good too. Oh yeah, but wait, yeah, there's this other guy as well who's pretty good at making music. He's also Australian. His name's Michael Mills, also known as Toehider. So, Mills first came to my attention when he was featured as a vocalist on prog legend Ian Lucason's 2013 Ayreon record, The Theory of Everything. He played the role of the somewhat sinister and scary father character, who was really, really good. But he immediately stood out to me with his relentlessly impressive falsetto and his impassioned vocal delivery. And of all the vocalists on that album, of all the stellar names, I was absolutely not expecting the at the time unknown article to be the one that floored me the most. But here we are. Now, I wanted to know more about this guy. I needed to hear what else he'd done, and lo and behold, I found his own musical outlet, the curiously named Toehider. Now, I didn't really know what to expect when listening to him, so I just went headfirst into the pretty extensive back catalogue of EPs that had been released up until that point, and I was blown away by what I heard. The sheer variety of musical styles, vocal performances, and virtuosity of instrumentation and compositional creativity was mind-boggling. Mills as Toehider had gone in an instant from being someone I'd never heard of to being someone whose music I became obsessed with almost overnight. It scratched an itch in a way that few things at the time were managing. And I was caught in the wake of this incredible musician on a ride that I never wanted to end. And thankfully, the ride still hasn't ended, we're still going! Mills has been churning out pretty regular content, releasing several full-length LPs since I first discovered him back in 2013, I think it is. But honestly, for me, it was 2014's LP, What Kind of Creature Am I? That, for me at least, really put him on the map as an independent act worth paying full attention to. He's since gone on to be a pretty regular contributor to Ayreon releases, having roles in both 2017's The Source and 2020's Transitus. But I was so sold on his solo work at this point that I just wanted to listen to Toehider, and hashtag only Toehider, you know? The record prior to this new one, 2020's I Like It, definitely felt at the time to me that this was Toehider on the absolute top of their game, with exceptional tracks like The Ultimate Exalter, Well Give It, Concerning Licks and Fares, and the title track I Like It. It was getting hard to imagine just where Mills was going to go next. Not being a music creator myself, I can't imagine the difficulty that must come from finally completing a project, and then thinking to yourself, well, that worked, but what next? It turns out that what Mills would do next is, from my perspective at the very least, pretty much every prog fan's tastiest dream. A single-track, long-form album. In this case, 47 minutes and 47 seconds long, with no breaks, no interruptions, just one long, flowing, consistent single-track album. Now, Toehider is hardly the first musician to have done this, but there is a reason that this kind of thing gets me all excited. Just look at Green Carnation's Light of Day, Day of Darkness, Edge of Sandy's Crimson, or Sleep's Dope Smoker. I mean, yes, there's also a lot of albums out there that segue from one track to the next with no gaps, forming a single cognitive musical narrative, blah blah blah, but they are still ultimately broken into individual tracks. Now, to make the decision to have your record be formed of one song, unbroken in form, especially in the year 2022, it's quite a bold choice to make, because that is really going to severely limit streaming numbers and obviously impact significantly on what sort of revenue you would otherwise make from, well, such as revenue is from these things anyway, but, you know, that's a that's another video entirely. So, yes, I have little to no memory of these memories, or just memories going forward. Is here! Hooray! It's been 3 years in the making. What's this all about? Has Mills released his opus? Or is this a tedious example of something shooting too high for its own aspirations? Just bollocks, as if Mills would release something bad, come on. Christ. Memories is a goddamn spectacular triumph. One of the most fascinating, consistently interesting and varied pieces of music I've heard in years. It's extremely difficult to think about where do we even start talking about this piece. So, if you'll allow me my stream of consciousness, let's dive in and have a little look at some of my favourite parts. The song blasts off really, really well, instantly grabbing your attention as Mills harmonises with himself wonderfully with his great a cappella intro, before we move neatly into what I suppose could only really be described as the overture of the album, setting up a lot of themes and musical motifs we can expect to encounter. We've got these crushing guitar riffs and these random little orchestra hits, which are so much fun, some syncopated drumming, atmospheric keys, majestic guitar solos. It just goes on, it's so good. The album hits a strong stride almost immediately, and it never really lets go, from the opening minutes to the closing ones. Mills' vocals are on absolutely top form here, and he generously shows off his spectacular vocal range, dipping down with some low, near-death growls at times to his signature wailing falsetto. It really becomes hard to believe at times that these vocals are all coming from the same guy. But it's not just about the range with Mills, especially not on this release, as his delivery and accentuation of the vocals are what really sell this, as he moves effortlessly from crooning, growling, whispering, and near beat poetry to rapid-fire complexity that would make someone like Lin-Manuel Miranda blush. His talent is beyond compare to most, as we transition from segment to segment, movement to movement. Mills embraces influence from across a massive swathe of music, paying clear tribute to bands like Jethro Tull, Devin Townsend, Black Sabbath, Dream Theater, Queen, Opeth, and honestly just so many more. There's a lot of love and passion for influences here, but Mills still manages to make it all so uniquely Toehider. For me, the song really takes off though at around the 12-minute mark, when the guitar work and keyboards start working in such incredible tandem against Mills' frenetic self-harmonization. These huge, enormous, stadium-sized vocals fire in as the intensity of everything just keeps on rising and rising, and it is so difficult not to get completely swept up in the glorious melodrama of it all. The theatricality of this album cannot be understated, and Mills has a wonderful sense of what sounds big and impactful, and he's not afraid to embrace this bombacity. But then you realise, hang on, with the exception of a 4-minute long section around 2/3 of the way in, this is all just this one guy. Just one. This sounds more layered, dense and complex than records put out with bands with like 6 times the contributors than just Mills by himself. My personal favourite section of the entire album, though, is this sludgy, doom metal inspired section starting at around like 17 minutes or so into it, as it showcases some of Toehider's talents that I haven't heard fully realised up until this point, and it genuinely paints Mills as an artist of incomparable creativity and talent. I mean, yes, okay, many people have done this kind of music before, this isn't new in that respect, but not many have done this in the same breath as hyperpop, a cappella, folk rock, space metal. And that's honestly what I love so much about Memories. It's how effortlessly this switches gears over its 47-minute duration. It manages to hang on to each musical phrasing and styling for just long enough to make you feel satisfied and never truly bored. There's always something different coming, always something unexpected or creative waiting around every corner. I mean, the stoner doom metal I talked about, that's great. But are you ready for the game show core section? I'm not even joking here. Like, Mills just goes on full-on 80s TV show synth. It's great. The song embraces the energy of theme tunes to classic shows like Treasure Hunt or Challenge Annika. It's so utterly out of left field. Hilarious on a first listen, obviously, because you're just like, what is this? What is going on? But it's this head-nodding, fist-pumping excellence every time you hear it afterwards, and you look forward to it so much. In the hands of a lesser artist, this kind of pinballing, genre switching could either be aggravating or intensely distracting, but I feel that Mills knows exactly what he's doing here, and precisely how and when to switch things up. It kind of feels a bit like going to an Indian buffet restaurant, for example, and just having a little bit of everything, you know, you're just like picking and choosing, but you know full well that you don't want to have your gulab jamun dessert and then jump straight into a big spoonful of lamb rogan josh, because that would just be ridiculous and just mess everything up. As the song progresses, it becomes increasingly difficult to genuinely believe that this is a one-man project. Like, I've listened to a lot of these sort of things over the years, these one-man bands, and truthfully, not a single one of them has sounded as full-bodied and complete as even just a few minutes of Memories. Mills' attention to detail and meticulous recording have really paid off here. Everything sounds so lush and full of life and energy. Nothing is flat, hollow, or empty, and this truly does feel like the labour of love of an artist who demands your attention. So, criticisms. Criticisms, yes. There are honestly very few, and for me, the only real quizzical eyebrow I would briefly raise is, did this really need to be a single-track album? Arguably, you could say no, as there are numerous clear and distinct sections that would easily serve as separate tracks. But who am I to question the artist? I mean, at a good steak restaurant, you'd have them eat how the chef recommends, and the same feels very much like it applies here. Mills has presented Memories in the form of a single-track album, and that's how it shall be digested. The density and scale of this record does also demand a sit-down and a good pair of headphones to fully enjoy. This isn't really something you can just casually listen to and appreciate properly, which again, might be off-putting for some, but for me, nah, that just enhances the experience, that just makes it better. The climax of the album is especially brilliant, and it feels like this huge payoff for everything that's come before it. Interestingly though, Mills has noted that there are two versions of this album, one for the CD and one for vinyl. One containing the happy ending, and the other containing the bad ending. CD and vinyl, respectively, I believe. I don't think I've yet heard the bad ending, because the one I heard was pretty cheerful. But I think it's a really fun idea to have made these two branching musical paths for the same record. That's kind of neat, I love it. But that being said, I can only really talk about the good ending, because I'm pretty sure that's the one I've heard. But it's exceptionally good. It's almost as good as the Toehider album, which was also named Good. Which incidentally was also pretty good. Things are wrapped up very nicely, both musically and narratively, as everything explodes around your ears in the typically expected prog epic bombacity. Big sweeping highs, key changes and crescendos aplenty, and things close off perfectly, leaving me musically satisfied and pleasantly buzzed from the whole experience. To call this album a trip is one way of describing it, sure, but I feel another more succinct one would be, I have little to no memory of these memories is Toehider's crowning glory, and frankly a momentous moment in the musical profile of the 2020s. Take a goddamned bow, Michael Mills, you have crafted something spectacular here, and you should be exceptionally proud of yourself. So, what else can I say about I have little to no memory of these memories? For me, this is absolutely Toehider's best album, like, just the best album. But as much as I adore every single minute of this, I would still probably direct new listeners to 2014's What Kind of Creature Am I? If only for the fact that that record is a little bit more immediately accessible. Okay, it's a lot more immediately accessible, but if you do enjoy that record, absolutely come back to this one. Once you understand Toehider and you appreciate Mills' brilliant wit and uniquely eclectic style, you'll enjoy this record so much more. But for me though, a thoroughly seasoned veteran of #only Toehider, this was an absolute delight, and a record I will be championing for years to come and inflicting upon anyone who will even give me the slightest chance to do so. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so tell me what you thought of this record in the comments down there. If you've anything else you've listened to this year that you think I should check out, and believe me, I appreciate everything that people have been recommending so far. You've got some killer music taste, you guys. Holy crap. Let me know about it. Might give around to give it my own thoughts. I got some in the works. I have got some coming. If you like this video, Please do share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it, and please do consider subscribing for some more content. Until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.